There is a saying that experience is the best teacher, but that is not really accurate. Experience is often the hard way to learn. Brother Fernando Casillas was born in Mexico, but when he was a baby, his family moved to the United States. The neighborhood he grew up in had a lot of gang influence. This had a very negative impact on him. But despite these circumstances, notice how the truth attracted him.
I used to love violence. I dreamed of violence. My gang was my religion. I got into the prison system at a young age. At first, they sent me to a juvenile facility, but I got kicked out of there for a riot. Basically, they deemed me a threat to the safety and security of the institution, the guards, and other inmates, and was sent to solitary confinement to finish off my prison term. Me thinking I was violent back then was nothing compared to what I came out with. Basically, what you try to come out to be is the best killer out of all. After my incarceration, I was deported to Mexico. I used to carry a weapon with me everywhere I went. After a while, we started getting involved with bad people. Eventually, my girlfriend got in trouble. Once that was over, she saw Kingdom Hall. My girlfriend had been to meetings as a child, so she basically drugged me to the Kingdom Hall. They treated me nice. And that's when I started to get to know Omar. So I started hanging around with him and his wife, me and my girlfriend at the time, going to meetings. But it wasn't until I found out this guy used to be one of my rivals. I was very, very upset. Felt betrayed because he never told me. Everything that was going through my head was, I gotta find a way to get him over here so I can hurt him. After thinking about all the things that I wanted to do to him, that night, running it through my head over and over again, I decided to just stay friends with him. And eventually, we decided to start studying together. Being the way I was, is I thought that there's no way a God can forgive me. The scripture in Isaiah 55:7 really helped me, where it says, "Let the wicked man leave his way, and the evil man his thoughts. Let him return to Jehovah, who will have mercy on him." As time went by, I started understanding clearly that Jehovah does forgive. By that time, I had already kind of made a decision that I was done with doing time in prison. I just decided to cut all ties with everybody that had anything to do with anything illegal. I felt like a free person. And after progressing and quitting the habits that I had of smoking and drinking a lot, I became an unbaptized publisher. But my father passed away. I started hanging around with bad association again, and eventually I had my privileges removed. And as that was happening, Satan attacked me again. So one day, my wife was crossing the border to go take care of some paperwork for the kids. Was surprised by the Border Patrol telling her that there's drugs in the vehicle. We did not know that the previous owner had stashed drugs in the truck. Even though later they proved that the drugs were not my wife's and she was released, but they still decided to keep my kids. What I was thinking of doing was going back to my old ways, organizing a plot with my old friends to bring my kids back to Mexico to me. But I decided to rely on Jehovah instead and on the brothers coming to visit me on a regular basis, giving me encouraging thoughts of how Jehovah will take care of everything. Eventually, our kids were returned to us with Jehovah's help. After a little struggle, of course, I had my privileges back. A few months later, I was baptized. I'm a lot happier now than what I was back then. One day as I was preaching in the rehab centers, I ran into a person I once knew before growing up. Once he found out who I was, he says, "You're the reason why I left town. Every time you would see me, you would shoot at me." So after a while, I was able to convince him that actually my purpose there was not to hurt him anymore, but to teach him the truth and how to gain everlasting life. I'm no longer a violent person. I enjoy the privileges that Jehovah now gives me. I have now been serving as a ministerial servant for the past 2 years. I am in charge of the accounting for the Kingdom Hall instead of stealing money as I used to do before. What I do for a living is do gardening work. Now I don't carry around knives, but I carry around my tools. You could say that I did beat my pistols into plowshares now, or weed whacker, or lawnmower. I'm glad that I'm now serving a great God who is loving, caring, and forgiving.
Fernando and his family are serving in an English congregation in Mexico. With everything Brother Casillas went through, he could see that Jehovah is the best teacher. If you listen to Jehovah, you won't have to learn the hard way. Jehovah is the one teaching you to benefit yourself.